Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show, where we explore the collision of a deeply meaningful life and a wildly impactful career. I'm your host, Rocky Garza, and with over a decade of experience as a coach, consultant, and keynote speaker to many Fortune 500 companies, I'm here to share personal stories and expert advice to help you gain clarity, build confidence, and discover that you too can build the life you actually want. Whether you're a high achiever looking for a more full life or a leader striving for professional success with purpose, this podcast was designed with you in mind. Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show. I'm your host, Rocky Garza, and today I have a very special guest. Not only are they very smart, talented, keep me in line and healthy, but I'm also related to them. So today I have with me, it's actually my brother-in-law, but we'll just say he's my brother, Mr. Jared Thornhill. How are you, Jared?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so let's just go straight into it. For those out there that are listening, so much of our audience, they're high performers, they're high achievers, they're probably in some sort of relationship, some kind of family, in some kind of business, either own a business, leading people. If I use me as an example, 41, almost 42, recently, probably in the last 24 months, like not really feeling like myself, like something's not right. I don't want to work out. I want to count macros, but I'm like, that seems like aggressive. I don't know. There's all these things going on. So I know you and I have had a lot of conversations about health. We've had a lot of conversations and not health as in let's get ripped and make sure we have X, B, A, B, C, and D. Just health of like, how healthy could we be as a regular human being, leading people, having a job, having a life, and so on. So start with, tell us a little bit about like, why is any of this even valuable and important to you? Why are we even like qualified to have a conversation around health or fitness or what that looks like over the course of your life?
Sure. So my wife and I own two pharmacies out in West Texas, Lubbock and Shallowater. We've owned these pharmacies since 2017 and 2020. And in a traditional sense, I always tell people that I was educated on our current healthcare system. And what I mean by that was you have high cholesterol, you take a statin. If you're a diabetic, you're on the insulin. And that was the standard of care. A couple of things had happened in my life. Number one, COVID happened to all of us. And to really started to open our eyes and open our ears on who we're listening to, what we're reading, and what we're doing with our general health that we may have either missed or overlooked in the past. The second thing is that my father was diagnosed with heart failure 5 or 6 years ago. And it was really an eye-opener to me because this was my hero. This is the guy that I've looked up to for 40 plus years. And he went from taking 0 medications overnight to 8 to 10 medications in a blink of an eye. And to see the guy who worked 7 days a week to what he is today doesn't make him less of a person, but it makes me open my eyes to realize, hey, if I don't take care of myself now and I don't put longevity at my forefront and my focus, then what could my life look like when I'm 70?
It's crazy that you say that because this was like 3 days ago. I was at a buddy's house and he was doing some construction at his house and we were talking about it. He's quite a bit younger than I am. So they're in that phase. You remember this phase where we do everything ourselves. They're like, we're going to do this to our house. And it was, we don't hire anybody. You call every friend and then you just get after it. But we were thinking back, our first house, we tore this wall out. I remember we had to put a beam. And then I had this moment where I was like, I remember, and this was 2012. So 10 years ago. So a long time, but also like not that long ago, right? Like in the grand scheme of you and me are going to be in our 50s, like in less than 10 years, right? So
Yeah,
like,
right.
kind of makes me want to throw up. But I remember like thinking through, I literally had this conversation Saturday of saying, I remember being in the attic and I remember the person like being on the ground who was holding the engineered 17-foot beam, who was pushing it through the tiny window of the little thing on our roof, being your dad. Like it was just he and I. Like it was just, we were the only two there working on it. And he was by himself pushing a beam through the ceiling to get to me in the attic so that we could, and less than a decade-ish, probably. For sure less than a decade because it started 5 or 6 years ago for him. So in less than 5 years, it went from the capacity to do anything that relatively he would put his mind to sometimes like the inability to stand up outside with us and the kids for longer than 5 or 10 minutes at a time before he would have to sit down. And I think like that reality I think for a lot of us, and I think it's true for a lot of us, but I'm just going to say, especially for me, rarely do I think about that because my kids are still young enough. I can still push them down. I can still wrestle my kids at the same time and crush them. I can still outrun them. I'm still in their eyes like I'm the best athlete that ever existed. Like I can catch
Yeah.
a ball by jumping 3 feet, 3 inches off the ground, and my son is like, "How did you do it?" I say, "That's wrong. I'm pretty good at this." So I think in all that, if you could just from both from your expertise, but I think more importantly, because one thing we try to focus on here is less about expertise and more about experience. So in your experience, if there were three, if there were four, five, eight, I don't know, if there were like 5 things, 8 things, how many ever you come up with that an individual like you and I could think about, we could concentrate on, we could really say, if you're going to do anything, do these things. What would you say? What are those things?
Most people that follow our social media pages know that we sell supplements. While that is a critical part of it and part of our business, I tell people that supplements are going to be number 5 on your priority list.
If you're listening right now and you're like, hey, let me see what the next pill is I can buy that'll make me better, just know that's 5 on your list. Okay. You got 4 of the things you probably should be thinking about before you decide that one thing is going to magically make that cracking left knee better.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. The 5 pillars that I focus on are sleep, hydration, diet, exercise, and then supplements when necessary. Your supplements are filling in those gaps. But without those other 4, you could take for the supplements a month and you're not going to get the results that you want.
Okay, so let's go through those. I'll be the guinea pig here. Let's go through those and talk about why those are valuable. What was number 1 on there?
Number 1 is sleep. I would say that this is my most important foundational pillar because without sleep, none of the rest of it matters. You can't operate mentally, you can't operate physically, you can't operate emotionally without proper sleep. And so that's where a lot of people struggle from the get-go. I'm constantly tired. I can't exercise. I don't have the energy. I don't have the mental capacity when I get home from work. Without sleep being the root foundation pillar, everything else crumbles underneath it.
Okay, so let's do this because I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a big Whoop guy. I used to be an Apple Watch guy, but then I realized notifications were ruining my life. So I got rid of that and went back to just keeping the Whoop there. I was the weird person that had 2 at one time. So let's talk about sleep for a second, because I think I would love to do this if you could help us with this. With each of these pillars, I think as if let's say that supplements is number 5, which I'm an advocate. You got me on some things, and we'll link all that here below. So if you're curious of what those are, but I think I recognize there is a potential supplement to go along with each of these pillars as a way to get us there faster. Because I think to your point, sleep is difficult. Sleep is difficult for a lot of people because oftentimes like they can't go to sleep. They can't calm down. They can't slow down. There's a million things, right? We could go through in that. Let's talk about sleep. Obviously, I think you can go do research. You can look at circadian rhythm and what time you go to bed and what time you wake up, and you want to be consistent. And we're not here to be sleep experts. We're here to tell people to go to sleep. But more than that, is there something that if people that either struggle to go to sleep, struggle to stay asleep, don't know even where to start, is there anything that goes along with the idea that if sleep is most important, but I struggle with that, what do I do? Where do I get help?
First of all, your own natural melatonin production. When you are outside in the sun, when the sun hits your eyes, that triggers your body to produce its own melatonin in your circadian rhythm. First of all, that is critical. Get outside. The second thing is put the dang screens down before bed. Allow your brain to slow down naturally. Now, if you're doing all the things right, if you're getting that daily sun, if you're avoiding that screen time in the evenings before bed, if you're doing all of those things and you're still finding yourself struggling, focus on these things. Magnesium, and the magnesium that counts, not magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate. Those are for your gut and are very poorly absorbed. L-theanine is great to calm the mind. GABA is a great thing to calm the mind. And then there are products out there with melatonin in them as well to supplement that melatonin in your bloodstream. There's a whole slew of different supplements that you could focus on. And many of the products out there have a combination of those. That's where your foundation really lies in helping you get to sleep and helping your brain unwind and slow down.
I love that. Tell me this, because you said something that kind of triggered something in me. I think oftentimes a step that I value that you guys are really good at, that I think in general healthcare is missed, but more importantly, I think with individuals is missed, is you guys have taken you did a really good job at saying, how do we first start with what the body was made and designed to do and help our body get in the best place possible all by itself. How about go outside? Don't
Right.
have to don't drink anything. Put your phone down. Just lay there for a little while. Now, some people are going, hey, I do my 5 minutes outside. I put my phone down. We got the phone box on the counter. We put it away. But I lay there and my brain goes crazy and I can't make it stop and I can't. So I know that you mentioned a few of these. I'm probably going to mess them up, but I'm not the expert here. L-theanine, and then GABA was one of them, and then magnesium. What huge thing hey, for listeners, there's a lot of kinds of magnesium. So don't buy everything that you see online that they say it's going to take because you can't absorb it. That's not how it works. But that's what you told us. I just want to make sure folks don't miss that. With that one in particular, why is it that so many of us, do you think, or in your experience, why do so many of us neglect that one? Why do we sort of like, it's fine, I'll stay up later. Oh, I'm a night owl, I'll pull an all-nighter. I gotta watch 2 hours of TV to calm down. Why have you found that one seems to be the one that's so difficult for people to admit to say, hey, I'm just gonna go to bed?
Yeah, I think that is your time that you have put in all of this effort from the time that you woke up to the time that, in my case, put the kids to bed, and you have this window. And it's okay, I want to reward myself with some screen time, some whatever it is. And when you look up and it's 11:30 and you're like, man, I got to get up in a short period of time, you're not gonna get those 7 hours. And so I think if we can change the mindset of, hey, I'm not gonna reward myself scrolling TikTok. I'm gonna reward myself by waking up tomorrow rested.
I love it. We're talking about proactivity. We're talking about proactive rewards, not the things we think we're
That's
going to make
right.
us feel better in the short term. Things like, let's go. Okay. So number one was sleep. Talk to me about number two.
Number two is going to be hydration. We know that our body is majority water. And without that, your organs don't operate properly. The foods that you take aren't absorbed from the gut. Like the hydration is key. And you see the people that go around with their gallon jugs of water and they're just chugging water all day long. That is good to an extent because you have to have electrolyte balance. Water alone is going to dilute you. It's going to dilute you of your electrolytes, your minerals, the things that are important for your body to function. An area that one of the things that I like to use is a product called None. I have no ties to None, but love it. There you go, right there. Put it in. It's right here in my water bottle right now. There's another one that's 4 letters, LMNT, pronounced Element. I'm a fan of Element as well. It has a little bit more of a salt content compared to None. If you do anything, and this kind of tangents off to working, the best pre-workout, salt water. Because when you put salt in your water is going to go where salt goes in the body. If you put salt into the bloodstream, the volume liquid is going to go into those vessels. And that's what you want out of a pre-workout volume. You want vessel expansion. You want to get blood flow to your muscles. And so there's a million different reasons to why you should put some sort of electrolyte or salt in your water. And I'm not talking about table salt, refined table salt. That's not where we're going here. We're going for your pink Himalayas, your unrefined salts that you're going to find in your grocery store.
Yeah, I know from in my experience that hydration, drinking plenty of water, specifically, I struggle to just drink plain water, which I know probably makes me bougie, but like just like the water, just like a big old gallon just to drink it, I'm like, I take anything else. I probably drink too much sparkling water as well. But nonetheless, I think I have found both with, I'm a huge fan of Element and more recently been a fan of Noon as well, just because it is a little less salty. I feel like I can get it down a little bit easier. Both of those things, at least for me, they cause me to drink water. It adds a little bit of flavor to it. I like it. And I think my skin is better. My eyes are better. My lips are not as chapped. Sort of everything is better because of those things. So number one, we're talking about sleep. Go to bed, get your sleep in, stop neglecting that, because if sleep is bad, everything is bad. Number two, if you're going to try anything, hydrate yourself. Drink water. If you want to add a supplement like Element or Noon in there, again, we're not affiliated, but shout out Element or Noon. If you hear this, hit us up. We'd love to be affiliated. So in doing so, we know that those things are valuable to us. That sort of allows us to put ourselves in the best position possible for what's coming next. So number three, what's number three?
I'm gonna take a step back and do one more thing on hydration here.
Okay.
So many traditional healthcare providers think that salt is the devil. Salt is going to raise your blood pressure. The issue is that while that can be true, if you have functioning kidneys and they're working the way they're supposed to, when you get too much salt into your bloodstream, your kidneys are going to eliminate it. And so that balance, your body knows what that balance is. Your body knows what that salt content is supposed to be. And if you exceed it and you've got properly functioning kidneys, you're going to eliminate it. A lot of the times, and we can get into this later, sugar is to blame for the problems that we think that salt causes.
Yeah, somebody better write that down. Somebody ought to take those Sour Patch Kids and just get rid of them right now,
Yeah,
because that's your
believe
problem. So,
me.
okay, I am with you on that, and that makes me feel better because I love salt a lot more than I like sugar anyway. So I'm gonna just trust my kidneys to do my thing. Okay, take me to number 3.
There you go. So number 3, that is a good transition into our diet. So our diet.
Mm.
Full disclosure, I am not a dietitian. I do not claim to be one, but I know that we're not going to get healthy with Twinkies and Coca-Colas. I know that those Sour Patch Kids are going to cause major issues. What I do know that more kids now in the United States are diabetic or pre-diabetic in the history of the world. We've done it to ourselves. Pre-diabetes wasn't even a thing when you and I were kids. The only diabetics when we were kids were type 1 diabetics that were born a certain way. And so the American diet and the habits that we've created, the ease that it is now to go through a drive-through and get food, has created this health epidemic that is literally killing us. And so if you can have a balance of protein, healthy fats, and healthy carbs, that's what we're looking for. That's that balance. So as delicious as Fruit Loops are, and I'll be the first to say, our kids get cereal from time to time. That's just part of it. It's made easy for us as parents in the lives that we live. But if you can get your kids to eat some bacon with some healthy fat and some eggs, a lot of protein in the morning, you're going to set them up for a heck of a lot better day than if they go eat waffles and syrup.
Listen, and the same's true for us, because I like waffles and syrup too. But I know on the days that's the case, I feel exponentially better as well, because especially if I don't start my day with this and this alone and just rip 2 cups of black coffee on an empty stomach until 11 a.m. That I normally don't feel great doing that. That normally doesn't make me feel fantastic. I think that's one thing, and we're not going to, and I'm with you, I'm not a registered dietitian either, so neither you or I are here to tell anybody how they should or should not eat food. If we're talking about performance though, and I think that's the thing that I value most about, one of the things I value most about what you guys do is the desire to have people perform, and perform by the degree by which they are capable. Let's go back and talk about your dad. We want him to now, at his stage of life, with everything that's gone, how do we help him perform to the degree by which he is able, the highest degree that his body is capable of and would let him, right? And so he's made diet changes, he's made what he consumes changes, he's made activity changes, all things by which he is able. I think if you're listening, that's really the way I want to drive home for you is make the changes that you're capable of. Do the things that are valuable to you, that are within your reach, to the degree by which you want to reach your quote unquote current maximum capacity. As you build a new threshold, we talk about this as, I call it progressive overload, right? So right now, if you're not drinking water, you're not eating healthy, you don't sleep very well, you don't have any supplements, and you're not moving your body, right? And shout out, we'll get to later, number 4 is working out. You're not doing that. And you decide that you're going to listen to this, and after this, you're going to go make 5 clear changes. The reality is that you're not. I like you. I appreciate you listening to the show. You're not going to, because it's January 29th, and I did an event last week on the 21st, and by January 21st of every year, 84% of New Year's resolutions is the day you stop. It's 21 days. We don't even get 3 weeks in. 21 days in every year is the 84% of people who started New Year's resolutions stop 21 days in. So just pick one. So progressive overload is the idea that if here's your threshold now, and you're just going to add 1 cup of water with an element in it, 1 cup of water with a noon in it, and you're going to do that for a week. What happens is you push your progressive overload. You push the threshold by which you are capable. And again daily, if we can increase that threshold, now our capacity to effectively create change is higher, because we've shown that we actually can. And I think that's one thing, I think, as you go through, and I appreciate, Jared, the way you broke these down. 1, 2, 3, 4. No stealing thunder. 3 was diet. My assumption 4 is moving your body, like do something, right? Do some kind of, and neither me or you are our physical trainers and or physical professionals. Jared is in fact probably in better shape than I am, but I just call that genetics. And he's tall and was an athlete in college, and I just went to the club, so that's probably part of the reason. But nonetheless, I think in both of those areas, like choosing a singular thing, and this applies to health. This is why we wanted Jared to come on the show with us. Like, this applies to our health, our well-being, our sleep, our hydration, our food, our supplements, all those things. But like, just choose one thing so that you can incrementally increase that threshold by which you're capable. And you may wake up in 6 months and say, I feel like I'm sleeping well, I'm hydrating sufficiently. You know what? Like, we've stopped eating this and started eating this because we want to. And I've been walking 2,000 steps a day, is for the most part. You will be a completely different person, but you're not going to be different because you change everything tomorrow. Would you agree with that?
1,000%. And the thing is, you have to have realistic expectations. Like when you set because resolutions are the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of. I hate resolutions. It's like January 1, I'm going to wake up and be this totally different person. And like you said, BS, you're not. But if you can set realistic expectations and realistic goals, if you think that January 1, you're going to start going to the gym 6 days a week, set 2 days a week. Exercise, and this can segue into to number 4 of exercise. 15 minutes a day of something is better than nothing. And how many Netflix episodes did you watch? How many TikToks did you watch? Could you give up 15 minutes of that time to do something? Go for a walk. Exercise is not expensive. Push-ups, sit-ups, body weight squats, those cost nothing. Going for a walk with your significant other costs nothing. And if you set that, hey, I don't care if I am 250 pounds at 6% body fat. That ain't who we're going for here. I'm going to be able to carry in my groceries, my gallons of milk when I'm 70 years old without getting winded. That's my goal. My goal is to go watch my kids and my grandkids and not be tired and not be in a nursing home and break a hip because I don't have any leg muscle strength anymore. Like that, when we're looking at these goals, longevity is the key. And I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. I'm trying to live a long, healthy life.
Yeah, I love that. I think that fits directly into, just as we wrap here, like that's what we're going for everywhere, right? I shouldn't say that. That would be the hope and the desire of what we're going for everywhere. In the way that you lead your team, we're looking for longevity. In the way that we care about people, we're looking for longevity. In the way that we run our organizations, in the way we're generating revenue, in the way we want to withstand a sustainable long-term business, the way that we tend to look at everything else in our life, we so often neglect ourselves, and we don't look at ourselves that way. Even though this morning, I just kind of hit me as I was scrolling this morning, somebody put something up that was like, of all the things to make an investment in, the only thing that's going to last is your body. Why are you giving your energy to every place else? And so I think there's something to that, not as a way to guilt us into it, not a way to drive shame that you've been eating the wrong thing or you haven't worked out or you're not the shape that you quote unquote used to be. I think for a lot of us, we'd have to stop thinking about where we used to be and start looking about where we want to go. And I don't mean that to be cheeky or try to create some sort of hyperbole. You're not 22 anymore. You're not going to look 22, feel 22, and you can't do what you were doing when you were 22 because your body's not 22. You withstood another 2 decades of effort, energy, and pain and harm and everything else. Just what can you begin to do tomorrow? For that matter, if you're listening to this now and it's in the morning time, get a cup of water. What can you do today? Just drink one more cup of water and do that for 30 days and see what's different and what feels different. And so I think our proactive approach to seeing those things happen. Jared, tell me this. So we got the 4, number 5. Supplement. If you could give me the 30-second, like the quick and dirty, if someone is like, say, they're saying, you know what, I'm in this, Jared, I'm doing it, but I don't even know where to begin because I go to the website, I log in, and there's 83,000 options. If someone says I should take this every day, and it's going to cost me $1,000 a month. If someone was going to pick three things that they were going to start with tomorrow, what would those 3 things be?
So the first one is going to be vitamin D. When we're talking about longevity, when we're talking about bone strength, when we're talking about cancer risk reduction, vitamin D is at the forefront of that. And pairing it with K2 will essentially get the vitamin D it will get calcium to the bones where they belong. Okay.
Mm,
So the K2 is your transporter essentially.
mm.
And so D3 and K2, number one, super important.
Okay, and
Number
that's
two,
that comes together, right? So that's I don't have to go buy two things. I can
right.
buy a thing, take that.
Do not buy vitamin D without K2 already in with it.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So that's number one. Number two.
Two is a high quality EPA and DHA fish oil. Fish oil has been studied for decades. It is helpful for your brain health. It is helpful for inflammation. It is good for the gut. It will change your life. And the thing is, you don't say, my omega 3s feel really low today. Oh, my vitamin D levels are feeling low today. I need to go take some. These are things that are in the proactive category for longevity. Third is a probiotic, a good, solid probiotic, because our gut has good bacteria and our gut has got bad bacteria. They are constantly competing with each other. You get things called leaky gut when you don't take care of the good bacteria in your gut.
Mm,
And what that basically means is your entire gut is a single linear line of cells in a tube. And they have these junctions that are here. And so whenever our gut is not healthy, those gaps, those junctions start to open up. And that will allow garbage to pass in and out into the bloodstream that's not supposed to be there. And so whenever we have a healthy gut, we have a healthy butt. So
mhm.
you bring those junctions back together, you don't have the leaky gut. What gets into the bloodstream is what's supposed to be there.
I love that. All right, we're looking for a vitamin D and K2, right? We want to put those together. That's all together in one. We want to grab that. We are looking for a high quality fish oil, not just some generic, cheapest thing on Amazon. Don't do that. It's not going to be good for you. And then number three, we're looking for a probiotic. If you're interested in these things, I take them. There's no award for me. I don't have an affiliate link or anything. This is just because I care about it. If that's for you, these things are all going to be linked below down in our show notes. We make sure and you can grab those. You can grab those directly from Jared, get them shipped directly to your house. You can get a subscription, all the sort of things. They know what they're doing over there. Jared, I greatly appreciate you being on with us today. If you are listening and you're thinking, man, this is where I'm at. I'm an effective, I own a business, so I'm leading people, but I know I had to be better. I got to be better, not just for today, but I got to be better for the long term. I want to be the kind of friend, the kind of partner, the kind of parent, the kind of grandparent at some point in time. If you have a simple goal like me, and that's that you just want to be able to outrun your son as long as you possibly can to prove to him you are, in fact, more athletic than he is. No matter what those things are, any of those steps are good and valuable for you. Jared, I appreciate you being with us. Thanks for all the information. And again, if you're out there listening and you're figuring out what to do next, look at these 5 things. Start with number 1. Don't jump to number 5. Start with number 1, work your way through. And when you're ready, then you can add supplements. They're called that for a reason, to supplement all the other things that you're already doing.